Thank you for being here today for this important announcement that has been much anticipated regarding Nelson Alexander Sr. I have a photograph of Nelson Sr., and we have Nelson Jr. here with us today as well. But I have a photograph of Nelson Sr. on my desk to remind me and remind the Fairfax County Police Department how unfair life can be and how we must constantly strive to deliver justice to violent crime victims and their surviving loved ones. I'm joined by several people today, and I hope I get this right. Major Ed O'Carroll is the Bureau Chief of Major Crimes, Special Agent in Charge Charlie Patterson from ATF, and Kendra Johnson, who's going to say a few words. Kendra is a niece of Nelson Sr., and Kendra is accompanied by Victim Service Specialist Carly Benson. We're also joined by many members of Nelson Sr.'s very large family, and you guys get bigger every time I meet you. Wife Jean joins us today, sister Joyce, son Nelson Jr., and many, many nieces. And I'm told there's more nieces, and I'm told there's more nephews. And what a great family. So I want to again offer the condolences of the Fairfax County Police Department to Mr. Alexander's family. And again, it's a large one, and his many, many friends in the community. Mr. Alexander was shot on October 20th in a botched robbery. He died 3 days later. Surveillance video shows Mr. Alexander at an ATM when a gunman approached and shot him in cold blood. Fairfax County Police and the ATF quickly announced a $10,000 reward on October 29th. In fact, Special Agent in Charge Charlie Patterson was one of the very first partners to reach out to us to offer assistance. FCPD worked with the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, WMATA, Police Department to locate and release, as you'll recall, video footage of our killers boarding a bus in the early morning hours before the murder. So many thanks to Chief Mike Gonzalo and the WMATA Police Department for all their assistance. Timothy Kayshawn Bradshaw Robinson, 19 years old, of Falls Church, was behind the wheel of a Nissan involved in the murder that we eventually recovered. He was the getaway driver, and he was 18 at the time of this horrific crime. Warrants for felony murder and robbery resulting in the death of another person were obtained just the other day on April 7th for Robinson. He was taken into custody the following day by our fugitive detectives. A 16-year-old gunman was with Robinson that night. He is now 17 years old, and he killed Mr. Alexander with a single gunshot to the chest. And as you all know, Mr. Alexander, I'm sure Mr. Alexander was killed, and Mr. Alexander never once resisted, not even a hint of resistance. Warrants for felony murder, robbery resulting in the death of another person, and use of a firearm in the event of a felony have been obtained for this now 17-year-old shooter who is currently being held on unrelated charges in Baltimore County, Maryland. We anticipate he will be certified and charged as an adult in Mr. Alexander's murder in the coming days. He is currently charged as a juvenile in the murder. This will likely change. Out of an abundance of caution, I am not releasing the 17-year-old's name until he has been certified and charged as an adult for this senseless murder. Tips from the community combined with meticulous, and I mean meticulous, detective work are the cornerstones of this investigation. I want to thank the following people before I turn it over to Bureau Chief Major Ed O'Carroll to go over the details of this horrific crime. Our FCPD lead detective, Tom Goodell. Thank you, Tom. Our lead victim service specialist, Carly Benson, who joins us on the podium, and Stephanie Romanchuk. FCPD forensic detective, Will Sominski. Thank you, Will. Many thanks to our Commonwealth's Attorney's Office for working so hard with us throughout the many months of this investigation. Again, ATF, Charlie Patterson, SAC, Washington Field Office, played such a critical role in the closure of this case. The Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, PD, WMATA, the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, the Virginia Department of Forensic Sciences, MPD, Washington, D.C. Police Department was critical. Howard County Police Department, Prince George's County Police Department, Arlington County Police Department, Loudoun County Sheriff's Office, Alexandria PD, Fairfax City PD, and Baltimore County PD. Now, it's normal to thank partners who assist. I've never mentioned so many, and I've been doing this for a while. So this was really a regional effort that's extended beyond the National Capital Region and far into the DMV. And we wouldn't be standing here today without the assistance of our many, many partners. So now I want to turn it over to the Bureau Chief of the Major Crimes Bureau, Major Ed O'Carroll.
Thank you, Chief Davis. Nelson Alexander Sr. was simply going to a local ATM on the morning of October 20th. He stopped in his vehicle just to get some cash. Nelson, who is 73 years old, was approached by a masked gunman in those early morning hours. Shot once during a robbery, and Nelson clung to life for 3 days. Upon his death, this turned from a robbery and shooting to a homicide investigation. So we now know a 17-year-old male, who's now 17, is directly responsible for the senseless killing, is being held on criminal charges unrelated to this investigation, as the chief mentioned, in Baltimore County, Maryland. Warrants for felony murder, robbery resulting in the death of another, and the use of a firearm in the commission of a felony were obtained by our lead detective, Detective Goodell, just Friday. The gunman, who is the juvenile, was driven to the ATM by Timothy Bradshaw Robinson, who's now 19, of Falls Church. And due to his direct involvement in this murder, Robinson was charged with felony murder and robbery resulting in the death of another person. The chief outlined it well. Our detectives worked tirelessly on this case, tracking our suspects from that bus. And if you remember, the chief and I were at the podium sharing those photos, all the digital evidence that we had found in the case showing who are now defendants on that Metro bus. They were headed into Alexandria City. There, they stole that 2009 Nissan Murano. And I do want to also thank the ATF for the reward money, as well as our community members for the information that they shared. I want to recognize our homicide detectives who, again, worked on all those leads and tips that came in. Our detectives from crime scene, from digital forensics, who worked so carefully looking for the smallest piece of evidence in this case, and to the lab technicians, working behind the scenes on a bench at a laboratory. They do amazing work. To our victim advocates from our major crimes team, the entire unit stepped forward on this case as they do on other cases, and I'm proud to work for them. This case is a wonderful example of regional cooperation. We see it on other cases. This case is no different, with all those agencies that step forward throughout the DMV to bring these offenders to justice. And a very special thanks to the Metro PD. They were instrumental in those photographs with that triggered so many calls to our call center. So we do believe our offenders spent that evening breaking into vehicles with a third man. So if you remember the photos that we shared, it showed 3 individuals. That Nissan that was stolen from Alexandria City prior to the fatal shooting was found by a police officer, a Fairfax County police officer, on October 24th, not too far from the murder scene. You might recall we held a press media conference on October 29th to announce that the ATF had stepped in with that $10,000 reward. So the tips from the community soon followed. Thank you. And to the media outlets that were there and are here today, thank you. You shared the story, and it worked. We received numerous tips, which included direct information that led us to these offenders and lead us to this press conference. Finally, I want to offer my sincere condolences to Mr. Alexander's family. You know, I got a chance to meet many of you, probably all of you, on October 30th when you held that wonderful candlelight vigil. On behalf of the chief and the department, thank you for extending the invitation to us to be there with you on that evening. We made a strong commitment then. Both myself and my team were assured with the strong evidence in the case that we were going to get our guy. Well, I have two things I'd like to say to you this afternoon. A promise made is a promise kept. And we didn't just get one guy. We got both of them. And as we know, they enjoy a presumption of innocence, as all our defendants do. But their new address is the county jail and a juvenile detention facility. They are off the streets of Falls Church. So with that, I'd like to introduce Special Agent in Charge from the ATF, Charlie Patterson.
Thank you, Chief Davis and Major O'Carroll. My name is Charlie Patterson. I'm the Special Agent in charge of the ATF Washington Field Division. On behalf of ATF, I would like to offer our deepest condolences to the Alexander family on their tragic loss. We hope that the future results of this arrest will bring a sense of comfort to you all during this very difficult time. I would also like to thank those who were brave enough to come forward and report information about this violent crime. The information provided was extremely crucial in making this arrest possible. We appreciate your courage and willingness to assist us. To the men and women of the Fairfax County Police Department that continue to work diligently in the pursuit of justice for the Alexander family and our community, job well done, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart, as I am also a Fairfax County resident. Thank you, Chief. ATF will continue to collaborate with the Fairfax County Police Department throughout the duration of this investigation. We will also continue to lend our resources whenever necessary as we combat gun violence together to maintain public safety. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. So with that, I would like to introduce Kendra to the microphone. Kendra is going to make some remarks on behalf of the family. Kendra will not stay at the podium and take any questions from the audience. So with that, Kendra.
Good afternoon. As we've all heard, Nelson, Uncle Bird to us, was a great man. He was a loving man. He loved his family. He loved his friends. He loved everyone that he knew. We miss him so much. We were overjoyed when we got the news that his killers were caught. And we are so thankful for everyone involved, especially the Fairfax County Police Department. Special thanks to Chief Davis, Major Crimes Bureau. Special thanks with that, Detective Goodell and Detective Chamberlain. Thank you for your nonstop work on this, and thank you for being there for us and keeping us in the loop the whole time. And Victim Services. Thank you so much, Carly and Stephanie. We appreciate everything that you've done for us and everything that you all will continue to do for us. And everyone that has been working in the background, we appreciate you all as well. And the community, we thank you for your support, your prayers. tips. Without those, I don't think that we probably would be here today, at least not yet. We thank our extended family, our church family, our friends. We appreciate you all. Everyone has been asking every time I think they see one of us or speak to one of us, have you heard anything? Has there been any updates? And it was it was hard because we didn't know what to say at the time. And then even when we found out the news, we were still getting asked, but it was hard to try to keep it a secret too. But we did. And it was good to be able to now be able to share with everyone that his killers have been caught. Believe me, like I said, everyone loved him. So it was very important to everyone, especially in the Falls Church community, that his killers were caught. He was very important. He would have been 74 now. We celebrated his birthday just a few weeks ago. So I can't say anything else that no one else has said. It remains the same because he was just a great man. And I can't say it, but over and over again, that we loved him and we appreciate everyone who worked on this case. And we ask that everyone continue to pray for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Kendra. Well done. Any questions? Pat Collins.
Chief, there's, in that video of the bus, there are 3 people getting on the bus. The last individual who got on the bus, is that the man you believe to be the shooter?
Yeah, so we're not in a position to replay or reshow the photos and directly depict. I can say this. We talked to all 3 in that photo. 2 have been charged with murder. The third person, we know what involvement they had, because I can confidently say that photo is hours before the murder takes place. It's not that photo is not close to 5:20 in the morning. It's hours earlier, and we've talked to that individual, and he's not responsible in the death.
Well, just to be fair from my point, of the 3 individuals, who is the one that you eliminate from this particular crime?
So Pat, I understand your question, and it's a process of elimination question, and I understand the reason behind it. So we're in a precarious situation. We're not identifying our 17-year-old shooter because he has not yet been certified as an adult. We anticipate that he will be, and when he is certified as an adult, you'll know his name. So there's 3 people in that video. 2 of the 3 are involved in the murder. I think you're asking which one was not.
Well, yeah, because I don't want to show that third person and say that he is a suspect when he's not. They're all sort of masked. The third guy who gets on
Sure.
the bus is wearing the kind of shoes that the shooter wore.
Sure.
At least the way I see it.
Yeah.
But the first 2 on, I don't know which is which.
I think immediately following the press conference, Pat, that's a good point, good question. If you'll just stay put, and either Howard Ludwig or Lieutenant Dan Spital will accommodate that request, because I do think it's important to do what you're asking.
And one further question. I know you got tips, and the tips led to the suspects. But what sort of forensic evidence, if any, do you have to link them to the crime?
We have not recovered the firearm used to murder Mr. Alexander. We believe it is a revolver. And as you know, Pat, revolvers don't include shell casings, so we have not recovered any ballistics. But the tips that we received were numerous, and they gave us all types of information about people and geographies and travel routes and travel modes, and that led us to engage with the many partners, particularly the WMATA police department and their camera system. Thank God for it, and the sophistication of their camera system and the importance that they assign to the necessity for state-of-the-art cameras on their buses and on their all their vehicles was instrumental in the closure of this case. So the tips were varied, and they spoke to all those different things, and that's what led us to collaborate with all the other police departments, because these young men traveled, as a lot of criminals do in the National Capital Region, from jurisdiction to jurisdiction to jurisdiction. And as we went and worked backwards, we knew that they left footprints nearly everywhere in the National Capital Region.
Did anyone confess?
We want to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into the level of cooperation of the two defendants. That's, and if you heard Kendra talk about, we as soon as we've made an arrest in this case, the first notification we make is to the family. It's the right thing to do. That was Friday. It's Friday afternoon, Friday late morning to the afternoon. So our detectives had worked Friday, have worked throughout the weekend. They've done a lot of things since today's press conference, but I'm not going to talk about which one or both or none did or did not say anything. And just about the photo, and I know staff's pulling that up now. We shared a lot of photos previously, and I don't want to get it wrong, the third person, the first person, because we're not sure what photo we're talking about. So our public affairs team will get that straight, Pat. That is a good point. But again, I'm not going to go into the level of cooperation about statements. This case is scientific. It's not guesswork, not just hunches. This case is built on science and technology. And I talked about that, about the video, and the chief reinforced it about the clarity of the video that we had, the photos that we shared. We know where they were throughout the night. We know they were breaking into cars. And at 5:20 in the morning, they made a horrible mistake.
Yes, ma'am. And before we go to you, I just want to clarify, Pat, in the event that I misspoke. While we don't have ballistic evidence recovered, we have a ton of forensic evidence. Yes, ma'am.
Shana, WTOP. I'm not sure you said it, but what's the 16, now 17-year-old being held for involvement?
Shana, do we want to go into the nature of the charges what he's being held on, if we know?
Yeah, so I do know, in reference to where he is in Maryland at the juvenile detention facility. I'm not going to get into specifics on the Maryland statute, but it's a violent crime. He's being held on a violent crime there, and Fairfax County's coming for him because we sought and obtained petitions, which is the legal process in Virginia when you're a juvenile. But we had met, and I'll give compliments to Chief Davis. This case, all our cases are important. Chief Davis, myself, our executive team, along with our detectives, have been in close contact with the prosecutor's office from the moment this case occurred. And we had lots of leads in the case. Some were dead ends. And that's a good thing in an investigation. We were able to identify people that people said that they did it, and actually it turned out they didn't. Why? Science and technology and good detective work, along with a tip from the community. Tips from the community is having us announce those charges today. So violent crime in Maryland, juvenile will be coming here to Fairfax County. And as the chief said, we're going to work with the prosecutor's office and juvenile court for that certification as to be tried as an adult.
But he hasn't been charged yet for murder?
So we have obtained juvenile petitions for him in Fairfax County. But he is being held in Maryland. The juvenile extradition, if you will, is a little bit different than adults. Thank goodness we don't have this happen too often, but we will undergo a process to bring him to Fairfax County.
Do you know how long he's been in custody in Maryland?
No, Pat and Shana, I just want to reiterate, it's Baltimore County, not the city. You said Baltimore, but it's Baltimore County, and they're violent crimes, and he's being held there as an adult. So he has, just for clarification, I know a lot of folks have said a lot, but our 17-year-old has been charged with felony murder, robbery resulting in the death of another person, and use of a firearm in the event of a felony. He has been charged with all of those crimes.
Can you just go back to the beginning where they came from? That night when they started, where were they traveling from originally? What was the first point they were coming from?
Yeah, so they're up in the Tysons area. They would travel to Alexandria City, That's where that Nissan was stolen. They would come back into Fairfax throughout the night. And this is just factual. It was a night of crime. It was an entire night of crime. They had done it previously, and they did it on October 20th. And you saw the photo at 5:20 in the morning. Poor Nelson Alexander, again, is stopping at that ATM. His car door is open, and it's open for just a minute, and then this horrific crime unfolds. Any other questions? Thank you very much. And again, I'll end on this note to the Alexander family, our deepest condolences. Thank you.